To go through. To welcome Jennifer and Tori. They're both doing great. They're pretty well done with orientation and working out on the floor. But please help them out if they have any questions. And of course, I know you guys will. You're awesome. So I asked in a previous meeting, but there seems to be still a lot of confusion about the phase 3 versus boarding versus what are we doing kind of a thing. So who's unclear about that? Let's talk through it.
It's
Anybody?
boarding, but
What?
it's not so much about boarding, but when do I quantify a patient as phase 3?
So phase 3
Is that when I have to wait for the floor?
correct. So the only time we're doing boarding these days, and COVID's over, so I don't imagine we're going to have to do much of any boarding anymore. So boarding's different because it can be for an indefinite amount of time. We're releasing floor orders and acting as the nurse on the floor. We're not doing that. So what we are doing is trying to capture some of this non-productive time that we've been keeping patients in PACU for extended periods of time without having our productivity match that. So, and there's also revenue involved. So what we are doing is the phase 3. And so essentially when a person meets criteria to go to SOU or extended recovery, even if that is on the MSU floor, ICU floor, the difference between extended recovery and observation is the billing. So observation is not extended recovery. That's something completely separate. And so we are doing extended recovery, meaning the surgery was actually classified as a go home patient. Some patients, as we all know, need some extra time. Sometimes they need to work with physical therapy. Sometimes they just need to get their saturations up, whatnot. So they're considered extended recovery. They're going to usually SOU, but I don't want you to think that SOU is in its entirety is what that is. So so we want to do phase 3 once they have met criteria, and I'm not necessarily talking about Eldreddy criteria. I'm talking about we've done all our due diligence in PACU. So their pain is tolerable, or, you know, what you've deemed as that's probably the best we're going to get. Yes. What we're going, and they've been hemodynamically stable. They're just essentially ready to go. So when that has happened, we'd like you to put in the SBAR, call the SOU or wherever they're going and say, hey, my patient's ready to transfer. At that time, you go ahead and go into the chart in the work list. There is a phase 3 thing that you need to click and document on it. When you click on it and pull it up, document, there's a little dot there that you have to click and then save it and then get out. And that's what initiates that charge. I'm still currently, but I'd like you to do that as soon as okay, so here's the deal. I don't necessarily want you to do it immediately unless you think you're going to forget. So if you think you're gonna forget, then do it immediately. Otherwise, I'd like you to wait 15 minutes because that gives SOU time to get the chart, get going, and then give you a minute to call back. But after 15 minutes,
then we click that.
Yeah. If you,
on that chart.
yeah. And here's the thing, it's easier to click than get it off there. Yeah. So that's why I'd almost rather you wait 15 minutes. Let SOU have a chance to take the patient. sometimes when you call them and say, hey, my patient's coming out, they're like, yeah, good luck, we're discharging people, or it's gonna be a while, and then just go ahead and do it.
Or they're getting slammed by the ER.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I have a
So,
question.
yeah.
So if you've given that 15-minute kind of wiggle room period, do you drop the phase 3 charge at the end of that 15 minutes, or do you retro time it to when you put the
When they met.
give them the 15 minutes after
after
your
the
safe
okay.
requirement, yeah, criteria.
Are the vital signs changing? Are they still
Yes.
15 minutes?
No, then essentially you're taking care of that patient as a phase 2 patient, so every 30 minutes.
But you're still charting phase 1
Yes,
assessment module.
Yeah.
This-
it is. And then the anesthesia SBAR sheet is when they come out of the OR, so when they get to PACU is the first time. When they physically leave is the second one.
Not just when they met criteria,
When they physically leave, it's the
because we've
second.
been doing meet criteria for the second time. Then
But
that times them into phase 3,
Yes,
and then when
so,
they physically leave, it's the.
sorry, so phase 1 is when they come, phase 2 is when they've met criteria, phase 3 starts at the end of phase 1.
Yeah.
And then end of phase 3 is when they physically move.
Yeah. But you're not charting
I
anything
don't
for phase 4.
I know, we can.
Maybe
cheat
I
sheet
will
for
ask
it, yeah, and I'll make a cheat sheet and ask questions.
Maybe make a copy of that SBAR section and
Right
maybe
now,
use that as a cheat sheet so that people that don't work there all the time.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Because on the phase 1 one-time document, there's no place to indicate the phase 3.
Right.
Correct, and there's not
Right.
So
going to
don't try to look for phase 3 spot.
Right.
In the one-time.
there's no phase 3 one-time documentation.
Yeah, I've
Got
done phase 3 before in that part, but the papers weren't ready yet.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and if there's not a line for phase 3 on there, just write it in.
yeah, sometimes we're still getting old forms that are coming through, sneaking through, and I don't want you to guys to say, oh, well, there's no phase 3, I'll just write it in boarding. Because that means something completely different to the billing people, and they'll charge for boarding or get super confused by that, so. Cross it out and write in phase 3. I'll help you. I'll get you cheat sheets. Maybe we should just have cheat sheets at the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just do that and have Robin laminate them. Okay. So are you guys okay online, Jennifer? Abby?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
This is Abby.
So also you guys have probably noticed we're doing an increased number of IR patients. I will tell you right now, if I don't get a copy of that, we're not gonna get productivity for it. And that's an easy 6 hours of productivity to get for a 2-hour recovery. So
And you're not getting the charge for it if you don't have the paperwork.
we're not charging for it anyway. It helps our productivity. So productivity, we get 6 hours of free labor for all of us. For every one of those, it makes a huge difference. So previously, we were only getting credit for doing surgery cases. Even though we were still recovering CPC, IR, and PC, we never got credit for those. So after going through boxing rounds and deciding that's fair, they've agreed to that, but I need to know whenever we do a CPC case, procedure center case, or IR, I need to have those sheets on my desk, under my door, whatever, because that's the only way it's gonna get counted. I have to manually count them, and I have to manually submit them to the business office. So at first I was having you guys make a copy and send the copy with the chart. You don't even need to send it to the with the chart. it's mine and nobody else cares. Type, yeah.
Okay.
So, we've got more sanitizers coming in because of the increased amount of, surgical site infections. I opted, and financed to get the entire unit covered with hand sanitizers. When we had the environmental hygienists come out, they saw people going in and out of rooms and doing all sorts of stuff without sanitizing. So I'm gonna have them available in every pre-op room, every procedure room, and in all the PACU bays. So please make sure you're using those. JCO comes because of our SSIs, which is very likely that they're gonna surprise us with a visit. That's something they're gonna be looking for, so.
Are they, you're talking about something different than just the bottles that are, yes, they have the bottles on the little roller.
Yeah, it'll be the same ones that are in the hallways.
Yeah, so
When are they supposed to get here, Mary? Cause I ordered.
We have
some-
them.
they're already here. Materials is trying to fit in getting them installed. We do have them in some of the rooms. So they can only do so many a day and all of that stuff.
They have rules.
They've got a
It's
lot.
not all about us, I guess,
Yeah.
apparently.
They won't give Robin the screwdriver.
Just, we could easily just do that. I think she has her own, but.
Yeah, but they keep them locked up so we can't.
So, moving down lunches, so I know it's super busy. I know everybody's struggling. Here's the deal. Again, I'm going to say that we are not 2 or 3 departments, we're one department. So we need to each in pre-op and each in PACU start getting your people to lunches as quickly as possible. And that means doubling up. It means moving patients around. So like phase 2, if we have a bunch of phase 2ers, we need to start sticking phase 2ers together and getting nurses to lunch. And I know it's hard and I'm not saying it's not. So, but also help each other out. So if your department's done with lunches, all the time, not just when people call and ask for help, because sometimes people don't have time to call and ask for help. Send somebody over and say, what can I do? Have you guys been to lunches? No, I noticed you guys have your board up over there. I
Just
love
today
it.
was our first day.
I love it. So they're checking off who's been to lunches. If you go over there and there's not anybody, somebody who hasn't gone, physically go to them and say, I'm here to relieve you. And here's the other thing. If somebody comes up to you and says, I'm here to relieve you, you give report and go.
So how I decided to do it, because it just, we're in and out of rooms so much, is I'm putting everybody's name on the board in the morning, and then when you go to lunch, you are responsible for writing the time you leave the floor. Then when you get back, cross it off so
Yeah.
that if Mary comes walking through, she'll know
And I can see exactly where lunches are.
this person's at lunch, or oh,
Yeah.
they had lunch, they're back, or whatever. So we did it today, and it worked good.
I
I didn't stress out about
saw
lunch all
it
day
and
today.
I about fell over with coffee. So. and
That's what
anyway,
you do when you're here for 17 hours.
No. So anyway, lunch, if somebody says it's time for you to go to lunch, I'm not hungry yet. I just got here.
Hang on, I wanna clean this
Oh,
room.
hang on, I'm waiting for the doc to come get these 2 patients that I'm sitting here doing nothing except waiting for the doc. We need to get lunches. Everybody needs to have a lunch every single day. And yes, help each other out, come get me, whatever you need to do. Let's see, okay, here's an issue we've been having. We're having some problems with things happening in PACU that really shouldn't be happening. So people coming out of the OR and you have to do a jaw thrust for an hour. Somebody has an OPA for an hour. Somebody doesn't put in a anesthesia orders and leaves the facility. Somebody is not checking back before they leave the facility. Somebody has to be re-intubated and PACU. Those things I need to know about. I need to know who, when, the patient, what happened. And I would like you guys to send me them in emails. Be very specific, because here's the deal, anesthesia, and I had to talk to Dr. Tobin about this. Anesthesia is doing peer reviews. I wasn't even aware if they were even doing them at this point. But there's some people who are continuously involved in these things. And there's no way of tracking this unless you guys tell me. I can write them down, I can flag charts, and then they will review them in their peer review.
Send me an email Saturday.
Thank you. So those I need to know about, please. So because it's not gonna get better until the doctors help each other out.
Send you an email or you say use the risk system.
If it's a re-intubation, it's always a risk. Yeah. Or if something else was definitely meets criteria for risk, please risk it. But if it's a, oh my gosh, I had to hold a jaw thrust for an hour, then I'd like to know that information about that, so, okay. And mostly I want those things to stop happening, and it's, like I said, it's very consistently some of the same docs, and they just need to have conversations with their colleagues before it's gonna get better. They're developing a sitter pool in case anybody wants some easy, free money. There's a lot of times the MSU, we're having a lot of M1 holds and other things where people need to be in the room with somebody. And so Dawn upstairs putting together a sitter pool. If anybody has a time or to be part of that pool, if they want to just do that, you're welcome to sign up. And they'll just call you as needed. And if it's like a pool, if you can't or whatever, they'll just go to the next person. But if anybody wants to be a part of that, please sign up. You can let me know if that's something you're interested in. Okay, here's a rough one. PACU is getting out of control with visitors and with safety issues, patient safety, HIPAA, and I cannot stress how important right now it is for people to not have phones in PACU, and I'm talking about patients. So there have been people, nurses up on the floor who have been reported by patients unbeknownst to them.
That's why.
So they'll sit there with their phone on and recording your conversations. They're recording what you're doing or not doing. And I want you guys to know that. There's also what we all know that happened over at the other place where a nurse was recording and taking pictures inappropriately of his patients. I don't want that to happen, not that I believe any of us would. You never know what people are doing with their phones. And so I get very concerned when I'm going through PACU and there's visitors or patients sitting in their beds like this. Or talking to other people, or who knows? The other day I walked out and, the gentleman, I'm sure he was sweet as can be, didn't want to be in the same room with his wife while she was getting changed. And he was walking through the entire department. Looking at the monitor, looking at other people. Looking, just walking through, and I'm sure it was completely innocent, but here's the deal, if somebody does not want to be in that curtain with their loved one, they need to go to the waiting room or say, you need to stay right outside this curtain.
They're not longer.
So there's patient information everywhere. They're listening to nurses' conversations. HIPAA is in serious compromise.
Do we need to be sort of warning them in pre-op that you won't be able to use your phone and talk to you?
I don't think it's a bad idea, but what I really want is for us in PACU to limit the number of people you have to watch.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm saying no more than 2 people at all. I don't want any kids under the age of 16 at all in PACU ever. That
I
is
think that's.
an ICU. It could be that you're doing chest compressions on somebody in the next bay, and that's really traumatizing, or would be to a 10-year-old. Who's listening to all the sounds of all this jazz. When people so what I would ask is the pre-op, if there's kids involved in the pre-op, you let the patients know that they need to find care. Because they can't bring their kids back to PACU. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of kids in PACU, moms, dads.
Newer people don't.
I
know
think
the
so
kids.
too. That's why we're doing this. So, and I'm actually working with Jen to make it a part of our policy. So it's to come, it's gonna happen. It just hasn't been there yet. So never have more people than you want to literally physically monitor with phones and whatnot, and no kids at all. So that's a rough one. It's very awkward to have to tell somebody, I'm sorry, you can't have your phone. But a lot of people will say, hey, can I have my phone? And I would say, if you are wanting to be completely surrounded by a curtain, and I would just be really careful about it, so.
I think if they're ready to use their phone, they're ready to go home.
That's kind of how I'm feeling.
I mean, if they're at the point where they can hang out on their phone and laugh with their friends, they can get
It's-
on.
Bye-bye time.
That's what I agree with as well. So related to that, there's a new safety policy, a patient safety policy in health streams. This is very directly related to what I'm talking about. We're all asked to sign that. And yeah. So that needs to happen. If you haven't done so already, go into health streams. It's really quick. You have to look over the policy, and the test question is, I've read it. Let's see, I think you guys are doing this, but in light of certain events, please, before you pick up patients, make a call to the floor and make sure that the RN gets them ready to come to surgery. So make
Try to give
sure
them,
that
like, as many hours as we can of
Yeah.
time to do that.
they need to make sure the IVs are running. They need to make sure that patient is naked. They need to make sure that their teeth are out. They need to make sure that they're not bringing their phones or other belongings down with them.
And
just-
telemonitors, please take the wires and the
Yes.
box off and leave it upstairs.
Thank you.
We've
Yeah,
got a
that's-
huge number of telemonitors.
Found
that
one
are
in the
missing.
charge office today.
Yeah,
You brought it back.
yeah.
yeah.
After
Robin
them,
took it
them,
upstairs.
yeah, them looking for like ever, I guess.
Cause
Like,
Steve and I had a picture on Saturday, they unhooked the box, left the box upstairs,
I found
Kept the
Elliot-
wires
the
on.
I
tele
found-
leads
no,
were
I
in the
found them
bed.
under the blanket somewhere. I was like hooking up the SCDs, and I was like, well, there's some tele leads. I
So
hope
we're
they have
looking
the
everywhere
box
for a phone office
upstairs.
and
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a hot mess, so, yeah, and they're busy upstairs also, but, I think that report, when you call for a report, needs to be a reminder, hey, I'm gonna be checking for all this stuff, so please just get it done.
Same for the wellness, because of the weekends, like they get vacation
Mhm.
sometimes.
Okay,
They need to know about the heavy property.
okay, do I need to send a?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Let's see,
And just
extra shifts. You guys, it's okay to go into overtime to pick up some of these ones, so. I'm okay with that. If you guys wanna work an extra day or whatever, start saving up for Christmas. It's fine to do that. We can do it for a short amount of time and our productivity, thank God, is back under control. And so we can do it for a short amount of time, so. Nancy picked up a bunch of them because she's gonna be in town and whatever, but if you keep going, so did Molly, picked up a bunch of them, so I appreciate anybody who can do that, would be really awesome. So another bad thing that's been happening is the conversations at the desks. This is PACU and pre-op have been full of not appropriate language. Patients are hearing it, volunteers are hearing it, docs are hearing it. We need to really watch
part of
Yeah.
it.
in your, for sure, but other docs, yeah. So I'm letting somebody else deal with that portion of it. But yes, there's needs to be really cognizant about keeping the level of the conversation down, keeping it appropriate and keeping it professional.
I'm certain it's probably.
That's not a surprise.
There's a handful, there really is.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, we had a risk the other day about, medicines laying in, being left on IV tubing and going to the floor and SOU,
Syringes or like.
both.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a syringe that, had, Sugammadex left on it. And it got sent to SOU the other day. So please, when you're in PACU specifically, check your lines and remove all those empty meds, and for heaven's sake, please don't leave syringes on there. And I talked to the doc who was involved in that. He's like, yeah, I probably left it on there. I'm like, well, please don't. Yeah,
Probably don't.
Did you know? Yeah, probably that's a bad idea.
Are you talking about like antibiotic bags still hanging too?
So oftentimes they're completely empty and they're still on the IV lines when they come to us. And
Lazy.
it's just
Yeah.
tons of different stuff, but the Sugammadex set me off. And the fact that it got clear over to SOU is,
Well, antibiotics are ran in the first 5 minutes of the case, so
Yeah.
those should be taken off.
Yeah. Right.
Before they ever even come back.
I guess
So-
my days of floor nursing, they continue the antibiotics on the floor. They don't do that anymore.
They give them
They
another
usually
dose on the floor.
They start over with their tubing.
Yeah,
Okay, that would be why I would leave it. It's just. Well.
Yeah.
Okay.
no, but they always should be off. So, I mean, I heard a horrible horror story over at the other place that involved a bunch of different things on the line, and it
And
was-
make sure you're flushing before you're pushing meds, because they don't
Oh,
flush
yeah.
them,
Right.
and you're getting.
Toradol, just for funsies, Toradol mixes with anything, it crystallizes. Toradol is a nasty one. It does not like to play well with others.
So I had a patient at the other hospital that we pushed a paralytic. After they came back from surgery, because it was still left in the hub.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of
They went
stuff I'm
or-
talking about.
Or propofol.
I'd rather give propofol than the paralytic, because she could hear us, she'd talk to us, but she couldn't manage.
Oh,
Awful, scary.
And we were in just a regular inpatient room, it's not like we were in an I room.
I saw tons of propofol left in IV lines when I was the other
Even if
place.
you
Yeah.
wash in there, that would have been. Yeah, but if you mix it with something, it's even worse.
So anyway, fun times. So please remove all that jazz from IV line. Pre-op, please put J loops on every single IV. Even if they're go home, there's a lot of times that we need to get people up and to walking around the unit to get their oxygen level.
So I
To
will
the
tell you that
bathroom,
the
everything.
OR sometimes starts them back there without J.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please add J loops. Yeah, thank
Got my
you, because
little
that's really, it's a lot of problem for the PACU nurses when they're
Yeah,
trying
if
to
there were,
DC
if there
patients.
started second IV back there.
Yeah.
By the way, sometimes those IVs are started by, they have initials from, I think C, so I'm assuming that's Connie helps out sometimes. And maybe they don't know in procedures that we like a J loop.
Oh.
Sometimes when she starts, ultrasound lines. I've had patients come out with ultrasound lines that don't have.
That don't have
cables on them.
Okay, I'll send a message to Kristen and I'll
And then
let
what
her
about your
address that.
IR patients and those?
Those, I haven't noticed.
Because like if you have an ERCP, those won't have a J loop on them either.
So I'll send the same message over to Kristen and let them know, and
Yeah. 'cause we-
anything that's coming to PACU at least, and they know that ahead of time, please put a J loop on.
Yeah, cause we went to doing pigtails on every patient.
I know,
all the time.
yeah, it's just so much easier.
Yeah.
And the
As
cost,
long as you have it set up with it on there, they just pull it off the.
Yeah, but if
We
they're
have it
starting them
hanging.
without being, before, if we don't set it up and they just start another one back there.
It's
Right,
just
right.
connected straight.
They're just connected to it.
Okay. I'll, you're taking care of OR and I'll take.
Yeah, that's back.
And then lastly, we goes back to keeping conversations clean and appropriate. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of toxicity that's reaching into everywhere in the departments. And, I absolutely need it to stop. So if you don't have something kind to say, if you don't have something appropriate or polite or helpful, I want it left unsaid. So we're either going to be neutral or we're going to be positive. But if I walk up on people who are bad talking other departments, other managers, or the administration, the hospital in general, I'm ending that conversation. And know that if I have to do it more than once, somebody's gonna probably have a write-up over it. It's bad. It's not helpful. It's creating a cancer in our department that's spreading. And we have a really good team and I want it to stay that way. I think that pre-op PACU and PAT are some of the finest people I've worked with ever. And I think we need to take care of each other and I think we need to really protect ourselves from the crap that's being talked about right there. Also know that whatever you hear is probably fourth or fifth generation knowledge, or it could be completely made up false. And I don't think we need to be spreading stuff that we know or suspect that may not even be accurate. And so, we're at, if we haven't crossed the line already in some instances into insubordination. And, technically the term for that is when employees are speaking poorly about the administration, and that's really dangerous. And so, just know that I'm not gonna tolerate it. So that's all I have to say about that. I think that we just need to really be kind to use our words appropriately, and let's help build each other up instead of tear each other down. And if you don't have something constructive to say about it, then there's no use of even talking about it at that point. And here's the other thing, I have a really bad taste when people are sitting off in a corner on the clock, speaking poorly about their hospital. You're being paid to spread false information or be ugly, and I don't like that. So. Anybody have any thoughts, questions, concerns, additions to any of that?
Could I possibly request that the closers, when they leave PACU, take a quick eye at all the sections before they leave? Because the other night, I went over, I knew that there was a patient coming. I came back over, my second was there. They came out gagging, vomiting. I glanced up. I didn't have a suction set up, complete suction set up.
Yeah.
Last week, 2 or 3 times I came in, there was. And it's when the suction caster is there. They have the tubing still in its package and the yonker sitting next to it in its package, not connected up.
Yeah.
That's
So,
inappropriate.
yeah, so what I would recommend is each time you ready for yourself for a patient, check all that stuff. I mean,
I'm just
it's just
saying when
something,
when
but-
they leave.
no, and I hear you, and what we should be doing. See, the problem is that sometimes the person cleaning the bay is not the person that used it. And so they're not even looking up on there to make sure all the pieces are back together. But yeah, I think it's really good practice. Obviously, if you're the person that used it, to replace it right away, but if you're not the person cleaning up, it's still your job to be looking at all those pieces. And then it's still your job to, when you're setting yourself up, not assuming that anybody did anything. So I think it's like triple check is the safety, and it's on all of us
Yeah,
really
it
to
is
check
on
that.
all of us.
So, but
Everybody
yes, I think that's
needs to be
good. Everybody
responsible.
needs to, well, and I think what's happening is we're all cleaning base for each other, and it's something that gets easily overlooked. So. Yeah, we'll all work on that.
And I think that this is actually coming from the beds from the OR, but I'm getting a lot of beds back that have SCVs underneath them.
I've had that happen the other day, so
Um, Yeah.
please lift up the bed when you're cleaning it, because cleaning also is looking for any blood splatters underneath
Or
the
used urine.
head portion of it, urinals, all sorts of stuff.
Cause we send back the SCD on the bed and then it gets thrown underneath the bed and then whoever's bringing it from the OR leaves it.
When you say under the bed, you mean under the mattress? It's like
You know, where
tucked
you
in the
can
top
Tuck
or
the
down below?
mattress
Where you
or
put belongings and
Under
stuff.
the belonging, I mean, I found them in several different places, but
Yeah.
this morning I had one and a patient was on the bed and I look under and I'm like mortified. 'Cause there's a one leg.
I found with a IV and a glove underneath.
I'll add that.
Somebody's turquoise panties under there.
She did.
Oh, Lord.
With the patient on the bed.
They're like,
They were
slides.
Yes, I do
Fun
it.
time.
Turquoise is your
Yeah.
color.
Anybody online? Are you guys okay? Any
This
thoughts, input?
Just hanging out, listening.
Okay. All right. You guys okay? Anybody? Anyone? Okay. I really do appreciate everybody, and I'm not kidding when I say this is the best team I work with, so it's just. I think we just need to really take care of each other and
You see how ridiculous that part looks now, right? Okay.
what? Did you say something, Jennifer?
Nope, I don't think so.
Can't hear you. Okay, all right, well, did everybody have a chance to do the rapid infuser and stuff? Yeah, I'll get the extra set of tubing. Cause I don't really want anybody have to run to OR for anything.
And that's just a little. Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah,
Okay,
Is that in the
If
cabinet
it's
that Mary
very
did over there?
Above the sink.
Yeah.
And
And-
there should always be one hanging on it.
Yes.
Then I think we're okay.
Okay.
I circled the.
We just need to make sure if we
Yeah.
use it, that we replace that extra.
Yes, with the correct tubing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
After
don't have, the
irrigation.
other ones aren't even in stock anymore,
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
but they may come back.
Yeah, it was awful.
You know,
I have PTSD over that whole.
Or go on PTSD over that one. Okay, cause that was when it didn't pressure